Okay, so on to Congo. The UN is sending its own troops to fight in Congo. This announcement came last week, the beginning of last week on June 13th, and it is the first time that the UN has ever used its own troops to fight in conflict. Usually it just provides aid to any countries that are willing to send their troops out to deal with conflict, but this is the first for the UN to actually use its own troops. And the situation in Congo right now, it's so grave that one can understand why the UN has decided to take these measures. But what actually is the situation in Congo? Basically, Congo has been just broken apart by conflict for the better part of 20 years. Most of it occurs in the eastern part of Congo, which is extremely mineral rich. Gold, coltan, iron, you name it, they have it. So obviously this creates a breeding ground for a lot of violence, a lot of corruption, a lot of fighting. And there are so many different factions and so many different forces operating in this region. You have the M23, formerly known as CNDP. The names are in French, so I can't really say them, so you just have to do with abbreviations. Initially, they were formed to protect the rights of the Tutsi people who were persecuted during the Rwandan genocide, but right now their agenda is kind of hard to understand. Mainly, it just seems like greed, corruption, bribery. And another force is the FDLR, and they're mainly refugees, Hutu refugees that fled from the Rwandan genocide into Congo. And obviously the M23, formerly CNDP, was formed to protect the Tutsi from these FDLR people. The Lord's Resistance Army has a hand in the conflict, and I mean, it's just a melting point. And a lot of these rebel groups are extremely violent, brutal. It's estimated that a woman is raped every 18 minutes in Congo. The corruption that they feed, the corruption that they enable to be fueled in Congo is rife. And to be honest, what happens is that they plunder the minerals, they plunder the loot, and then they sell them off to foreign benefactors. So they are foreign forces that are supporting rebel activity in Congo. And the effect of selling off the ores is just tremendous. It's like you're depleting the country of resources, but the people, they don't get access to what you're getting for the resources. It's like you're stealing from the people, and they never get to have the benefit of their gold. They never get to have the benefit of their ores. They still suffer. And so the violence and the bloodshed has been so rife that the UN has maintained a peacekeeping mission inside Congo for the better of 20 years. It's the largest peacekeeping mission in history. Over $7 billion in aid has been poured into this mission. Over 20,000 peacekeeping forces have been maintained in this mission. But on the whole, everybody agrees that the mission, it's a bit of a failure. They struggle to understand what they need to do to be proactive about keeping the people safe. They're not really allowed to be on the offensive, and so most of the times when you're on the defensive, it's too late. The people have been murdered, the people have been killed, the people have been raped. It's been a hot mess, I won't lie. And so the UN has finally decided to suck up the guts and send in 3,000 troops, and this has been met with a lot of criticism. It's kind of, well, a lot of it is fair, because with the UN sending in its troops, that kind of means that the UN is losing its neutrality. That shouldn't really happen. It's also the fact that you don't know who you're sending in. They could promote, corruption could be even more imploded. That's another point to consider. And the biggest point of all is, yes, okay, the troops, they will help to combat the violence, but Congo has so many other problems stemming from the violence. Congo suffers from such strong corruption within the system, within the administration. There's such poor road networks, such poor transport routes, that ethnic groups are literally separated. And this kind of further weakens the government. The government's power is even less centralized. So you can see that Congo needs a lot more help than just troops right now. Personally, I think it's worth a shot. I think that the risks that are associated with what the UN is undertaking, it's worth what the potential results can be. Right now, the UN troops, they seem to be mainly stemming from South Africa and Tanzania. And the South Africans, they have been training for this for a while, so I'm optimistic that they will be able to yield positive results. Anyway, we just have to keep our fingers crossed, because the people of Congo have been through so much. just millions dead, so many refugees. Enough is enough. It's really time for this to end. Hopefully, if you are listening to this, maybe you can tell your friends about this. Just the more people that know about it, the bigger chance that something will actually happen. Okay, so thank you for listening. Bye.